Yes, we are live now. Hello, friends. Welcome to the 40th episode of Let's Talk Inclusion. My name is Manobina Chakraborty, founder for Inclusion. And I have my colleague, Ms. Pallavi Mallick, joining us from Dubai today. Pallavi is an inclusive education leader with huge experience in the field. And we will talk about cognitive differences and inclusion on today's episode. Hi, Pallavi. Welcome to Let's Talk Inclusion for the second time.
Hi, Manobina. Good evening, and good evening to everyone around the world. I hope everybody is enjoying Friday evening with their families.
Yeah, Pallavi, could you please tell our viewers a little more about yourself?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Pallavi Mallick. I have been working in the field of inclusive education since 2008. I have worked across three countries. I have been working as head of inclusion in Dubai since 2014, and I've worked across curriculums, be it IB, American, Indian, and British. I strongly feel in removing barriers, be it a child with any kind of disability. So my specialization lies in all kind of neurodevelopmental disorders, be it dyslexia, autism, ADHD, and I'm also a NIAS visitor. So we do also inspections around the world. And I just feel that throughout my myriads of experience, I feel that I have made that connection with parents and students across the world.
It's great. Great to know this. Pallavi, what I feel providing special education may not be that tough if you have qualified human resource and proper infrastructure, right? But when we talk about inclusive education, it needs much more. What do you think?
So, special education is the practice of individual instruction with students with disability. The field earlier was, historically been associated with special schools or segregated schools. Now, that was actually, if you look at the philosophy and if you look at the theories, that was the medical model of disability. Now, these days, we are following the social model of disability, and therefore inclusive education on the other hand believes in quality first teaching, where all inclusive classrooms and all learners have to be in the same environment and be in the same classroom. So it is meant for all learners, and while special education lies the responsibility lies with the special educators solely, inclusive education believes in that the responsibility is for the whole community in the school, be it the teachers, be it the management. So it believes in that inclusive education has to be in the whole ethos and culture of the school.
True, true, very true. And as we know, cognition means the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and senses. People with cognitive differences often take longer to complete academic tasks than people with typical cognitive function and can have difficulty focusing. What strategies do you apply to include them in a mainstream classroom, or maybe you have a separate section for them in your school?
No, in Dubai, we don't believe in having special sections or a separate environment for them. So we have to include them in the mainstream classrooms.
Okay.
So any child who's been diagnosed with a cognitive impairment or a cognitive disability, or also it's not mandatory that the child needs to have a psychoeducational report in Dubai. We need to have them in the classroom. So whenever there is a child with cognitive gaps or cognitive processing issues, the main idea is that we look the obviously the first step is to make an IEP. Any child who is on the special education needs register needs to have an IEP. So the strategies would be, first is definitely quality first teaching. He or she has to be provided with all the strategies in the classroom which has to be provided to other children. And then second important thing is differentiation. So we need to have differentiated learning in the classroom. If a lesson plan is having a particular topic, that has to be differentiated and catered to the need of the child. So for example, if there is storytelling going on in the classroom, and the whole classroom has to have to write a story with beginning, middle, and end. For a child who is having cognitive processing issues or cognitive impairment, it has to be differentiated to a simple level. So for that child, maybe the story writing could only be just writing the beginning of the story, and having differentiation with pictures and with mind maps. So that is really important. We need to have that. And third is, to have that collaboration with the inclusion team, which is the special education team, and teachers. So when co-planning and collaboration is there strong, then the differentiation and personalization in the classroom becomes easier.
Okay, okay. And actually, this is cognitive diversity.
Yes.
And I personally strongly recommend cognitive diversity because it is actually the representation of people who have different styles of problem solving and can offer unique perspective because they think differently,
So,
right?
like from that point, Manobina, that is what I'm saying. Like these days, we have neurodiversity, right? So
Mhm.
we have to respect, and because that's how the society works. So in a
Yeah,
classroom, that the environment should be on a similar terms. That that every child's needs is catered, and they get individual and personalized learning.
very true, very true. And what about the children who are um, at the severe end of autistic spectrum, maybe
Yeah.
nonverbal, maybe have developmental delay, and that is quite a lot of developmental delay, I can say. How do you include them in the mainstream classroom? Do they have different syllabus or something like that in Dubai?
So, see, in an inclusive classroom, you will not have a different syllabus, because in
Yeah,
terms of
that is the thing.
yeah, in
Mm.
terms of content and curriculum, it will be the same. But if there is a child who is non-verbal and has significant needs, then we have to modify the curriculum for that child. So again, on the IP, all the modifications, the regular collaboration, and sometimes to access the curriculum, we do have individual learning support assistant, like how we used to call shadow teachers. So the person helps the child with the learning and teaching to access the curriculum in the classroom. And then strategies like, you have picture exchange communication. These days we have technology.
Yes.
There is
Mhm.
iPad, so there is a lot of communication apps. So again, we do use them. So again, it's not one size fits all. It's child to child and need based. So you have to design and modify and accommodate the child in the mainstream classroom.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And you have worked in India and the UK and, of course, in UAE in different systems also.
Yeah.
What systemic support have you received in these three countries for inclusion of cognitive diversity in schools?
So I will start from Dubai, because currently I have been here since 2014. It will be almost 8 years now. So Dubai inclusion policy was introduced in 2017, and the idea was that all children, respective of special education needs or any kind of other needs, have to be included in the mainstream classroom. So when there is a law, we it makes you abide by it, and all the schools, the private institutions, have to go by it. We also have the the KHTA in Dubai, which monitors the evaluation and the systematic support of students. So in Dubai, we call the special needs children as students of determination. So according to the policy, we have to have them in the mainstream schools and inclusive classrooms. And then we do have, so every school also has their inclusion policy. So when you have policies and laws there to support, it becomes easier for you, to go by the book or go by the law, and then that system is there to support you. So life becomes a bit easier when, because if there is a law for parents also, they if they are denied admission in any school, or there are challenges, then parents can go back to the law and also have their rights in place. So this is how it works in Dubai here. In terms of UK, there was, I mean, there is Sen code of practice. So again, like the schools go by the Sen code of practice, and again, it's a similar story. Like when you have the inspections and all, you have to go by that. It's a, it guides you on what to do. In India, again, you have the Right to Education Act. So again, every child has to be educated, and then we had the Right of Persons with Disabilities Act, which
Yes.
I think it was again revised in 2016. So, there are laws, because I think the countries, they do sign the UNCRPD. So the laws are there. It's just how it is implemented and executed from country to country.
See, Malik, Pallavi, I did this mistake previously as well. I called you Malika. I'm so sorry. Pallavi, I have been working in India for years now, and I worked in the UK as well. You know that. What what I have found in India is that there are policies in place, of course, but there is a huge gap, you can say, between policy and implementation.
Yeah.
So, uh, in UK, this is not the same. Yeah, I agree. And since I have not worked in Dubai, so I don't know about it. But in India, yes, policies are there, but if there is a difference between policies and practices.
Yes. So it's the
So,
execution and implementation which makes the difference.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And we, as education professionals, we all agree that learning environments should aim to engage learners, make them feel welcome, and give everyone an equal opportunity to participate. Right,
Yes.
and the pedagogical design is paramount in this effort. We have all heard about universal design for learning. Do you follow that in your mainstream classrooms?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has to, it as a pedagogy. I mean, when you are designing, teaching, and learning
Mhm.
and lesson
Yeah.
plan, UDL, Universal Design of Learning, is followed, I'm sure,
Mhm.
across the world in the schools.
Yes, yes, yes. And likewise, instructional designers have made good progress in understanding how to promote diversity, equality, and inclusion (DEI) in online learning environments during this COVID times, to be specific. But how can we apply such insights to design physical learning spaces in this post-COVID situation? What do you think?
So, of course, the whole education, the field of education changed post pandemic, and during the
Yes.
pandemic,
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
thrown into going online and doing online teaching. But I think that was a learning for all in terms of instructional design post pandemic, because that helps everyone to design the learning environment. Like you can be offline, and at the same time you can do online teaching. So
Yes.
certain
Yes.
things, so now when you're designing a lesson or a lesson plan, like teachers do consider having that a balance of both. And with Zoom and with other kinds of apps we have, like when you have the Teams, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, you have CISO application, there are many in the field. It
Yes.
becomes like that personalized learning and catering to individual needs becomes easier. And when you have these apps, like you nowadays you can post the recorded sessions, you can have the lesson plans before. So like we were discussing about cognitive differences, if there is a child with needs, like pre-teaching and post teaching becomes easier when you have that online platform. You can upload things before and afterwards for the parents. So that makes it easier to incorporate learning again in a classroom physically in the environment when you have the things in place.
Yeah. And what are the challenges do you face on day-to-day basis for to implement inclusive education in your school?
So I think inclusive education is challenging on a day to day basis. I think all head of inclusions, Sencos, anybody who's running inclusion across the school will agree to it. The first challenge is basically the main. I don't say I will not say as a challenge, but what is important is the relation between the mainstream classroom teacher and the specialist, the the teachers from inclusion department. That collaboration and that relationship has to be strong for to see the progress and impact of learning for a child with special needs. So that is a challenge sometimes. On a day to day basis, I feel that because the mainstream teachers are in a classroom of 25 to 30 children and they are catering to so many children in one classroom, they feel that their job is much more difficult than a specialist coming and working with one child for push-ins or pull-outs. But that one child has a need which is equivalent to 10 children, so working. So a challenge in an inclusive classroom or for a specialist or for a head of inclusion is working with the adults, working with the teachers, working with the parents, working with the management. Then you have like a learning support assistant, so training that learning support assistant. So it's not only one thing, it just amalgamates to so many things around. So, special education, when you're working with a child on a particular skill, you're just working on the skills and you see the progress. But in terms of inclusive education, you have the skills and you also have the curriculum content. So, if there is, division going on in the classroom and you have a child who has significant needs and cannot access the curriculum and cannot do division, then if he has to do some, lower level subtraction in or a lower level of maths in the classroom, and then that becomes challenging how to cater to the needs. So these are like day to day challenges of inclusive education, or to be, yeah.
And how sensitized are the children, mainstream children, in schools in Dubai?
I think the beauty of inclusive education is when you have a child with special needs in the classroom, the peers, the children are the first ones who accept, the child. They are the first ones to accept. So I think once they are in the classroom together, and children are honest and open minded. So to cater to each other needs, they become, when they see it, they accept it. And time to time, you need to have awareness programs across schools. You need to make the children also aware about different needs. There can be a buddy for a child in the same classroom. He or she can support the child. So many things can be done to raise awareness and
It is
acceptance.
possible. What I feel, Pallavi, it is possible when they are young,
Yeah.
in the primary school age, right? But
Yeah.
you cannot force a child to make friends with another child when they are in their adolescence, maybe in their teenage. What do you think?
Teenagers. Yeah, so teenagers, like teenagers is challenge, like being a
Those
teenager is
challenges are
challenging.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, challenging in itself. But again, like it also depends on the culture and ethos of the school. If the children are used to having special needs children in the classroom, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, they
true.
learn to accept. But time to time, again, like it has to, like counselors, teams, they have to do this time to time in the classroom to make them aware that you have differences. I mean, in society also, when you go out there, like school is a protective environment, but when you go out there in the real world, there are I mean, we have individuals with different needs. So so you have to learn to accept each and everyone with their differences in the school environment. So that is how the philosophy should be.
What about bullying?
Bull,
Bullying
bullying, I'm sure, be it be it any country, or it does
everywhere.
happen everywhere. It does happen. I mean, when we were in pandemic, cyberbullying and child protection, everybody had to take care of that. So bullying, yes, it does happen, but again, we as a school and with the plan, like we need to have that sessions in the school, anti-bullying campaigns. The counselor works with us, and that is catered to manage bullying in the classroom.
Okay. Thank you very much for your inputs and insights, Pallavi. Is there anything else that you think worth mentioning here? Any your experience, any case study, if you'd like to mention here?
I just want to say that though we say that inclusive education is challenging, I think at the end of the day, it it makes us all realize that we, without having, I mean, with having differences, at the end of the day, we need to accept that, and have that at the end, have that philosophy that the world out there, outside the school, it's harsh out there, you know. So we have to like treat the children and give them strategies to make them independent outside. So yes, I'm not saying that inclusive education is perfect, but yes, we do learn, and it's definitely better when the children, and research says that when they are in inclusive classroom, their social emotional needs and their there is a progress in terms of their overall well-being. And I have seen when the parents teachers work in collaboration, the progress is much more
Yeah,
from their
true.
starting
Very true.
point.
The same experience I have. Whenever I meet a parent, I always say to them that your child is our responsibility too, and so is yours. So, if we don't shake hands, if you don't be friends, we'll not be able to work together for the overall development of the child. So, we will have to be friends. There should not be any blame game or anything like that. We have to be friends. We don't have any other option.
Yeah, it has
And
to be
so
teamwork.
yeah, it's for the overall development of the child.
Yeah,
And let me just take a quick question. There are a couple of questions I can see in the comment section. They're for you.
okay.
What do you prefer for moderately autistic children, inclusion or integration?
So I do believe in inclusion, but for moderately, I mean, I'm catering to this question. The first thing is that we need to have early intervention and therapy in place. So even like speech therapy, occupational therapy, depending on what the child needs is, we have ABA. So just putting the child in an inclusive school or in a mainstream classroom is not the solution. The therapies and the early intervention needs to be in place. So if a child is going through a therapy or has a plan with occupational therapy or speech therapy, that needs to be continued till the time the child makes the progress. So I always tell parents that don't stop the therapies, because the progress will happen when the both the systems are in place, the school environment, the learning environment, and also the therapies which needs to be catered to the child's need.
Do you have therapists in your school as well? Occupational therapists, speech therapists, and all?
So at present in the current school, we don't have, but we do have. We work collaboratively with external agencies. We do
Okay.
recommend parents to go to external agencies and go through therapy. So children in kindergarten, or when they are in lower primary, they still go through that. So there is always, and we do share the specialist outside on us. We do share the reports, and we work collaboratively when we have the IP in place for children.
Okay, okay. One more question is here.
Is there?
Is there any way we can include children with severe learning difficulty in their age appropriate mainstream classrooms?
So again, I would like to repeat that identification and implementation, it's a process. Definitely, when the identification is earlier, the progress is better because we give the support in the right way. So yes, severe learning difficulties, they can be included in the classroom. They are in the classrooms in so many of the schools. But again, like if suppose if a child has dyslexia, we need to see that what kind of dyslexia it is. And these days we have technology, we have text to speech, speech to text. Manobina, Nessie, how beautifully it works. So we have to see what kind of provision the child needs. If the provision are there in place for the child, definitely he can be an inclusive classroom.
Okay. But there are children who have significant developmental delay, global developmental delay, GDD, we can say, and
Yeah.
with very very short-term memory they have, and maybe non-verbal. Do you have any accommodation for them in your board examination system?
So, if you look at the British curriculum, you have the access arrangements, and American
Yeah.
curriculum also you have the accommodation and access arrangements. So, anybody who, for during assessments, we do give extra time. So, for anybody who has learning difficulty or dyslexia, you have the provision of reader, scribe. You can also have a technological reader on the laptop. So there are lots of accommodations for, and we call it as access arrangements for children these days when they are going for examinations.
Suppose someone is autistic and non-verbal, and at the same time has difficulty in writing. How
Yeah.
will they cope in this examination
So,
system? Do you have
so it
any?
depends that the child is reaching at that point. If the child is not able to access academies, then we suggest the parents for also alternative pathways where the focus is that they should continue for functional skills, vocational skills. So alternative
Mhm.
pathways are also suggested to parents if they feel that they will not be able to access the examinations at that point of time.
Okay. Do your schools in Dubai offer these alternative pathways, or do you have any other centers for these alternative pathways?
So we have both. Some of the schools they are giving now different alternative pathways within the school. So it's like I said, since the time inclusion policy has been introduced in Dubai, a lot of changes have happened. So there are
Mhm.
schools who are doing alternative pathways. They are having their own units where they
Okay.
focus on vocational skills and functional skills. And there are also centers where there are provision for special functional curriculums or alternative pathways. So yeah, there are both systems in place.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much once again, Pallavi. We will surely collaborate again in near future. And as I said, I will finish this program within 30 minutes. So I'll not take much of your time. But before we go, do you have any suggestion for our viewers?
Uh, at first, I would like to say thank you to you, Manovina. It's always a pleasure when we work on, we work collaboratively for these live sessions. The suggestions I would say to the parents specifically that yes, I am a parent as well. And when you have a child with special needs, the dream is, or any parent would want the child to go to a mainstream school and have the child in inclusive classroom, but at the same time we need to understand that there are gaps and we need to have realistic expectations of the child.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it has to be realistic. uh, Having neurodevelopmental disorder is not a disease, so it cannot be cured. It is a developmental disorder, so we just have to manage it in the right way. So to manage it in the right way, it's always important to accept what the challenges are and then make a plan. So if the plan is good and acceptance is there, definitely the progress is better and the child's holistic learning becomes a success story.
Okay, and this is thank you, Pallavi. And this is Autism Awareness Month. The Autism Awareness Month is going on. Today is
That's
29th.
why I'm wearing blue also.
You're wearing blue.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have anything to say for autism awareness and acceptance?
Yes, so actually yesterday I had a autism awareness event in my school. We
Yes,
had a
I saw
crowd.
the photographs on
Yeah.
Facebook.
So yes, it is Autism Awareness Month. I would just like to say that we have the percentages are almost, according to research from NHS and UK and across the other research, almost 1% of the population are having ASD under the umbrella term, different kind of under the umbrella, like Manobina, we have ASD, we have Asperger's, we have PDD, and we just should be aware about the needs on how to cater to children's needs. And if the governments take those consideration of having people with autism like sensory issues and so many things when they go out, it will be a beautiful world. But I just say that if everybody had autism and everybody worked like children, also the world would be such a better place because everything would be so structured and organized. So that is what I
Very
say.
true. Very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pallavi. Thanks a lot. And it has always been very enriching talking to you. And I look forward to having you over once again in your future.
It's always a
And
pleasure, Manovina. Like, you can count on me any day for having
thank,
this session.
thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Pallavi. And to our viewers, please keep an eye on our Facebook page for the announcement of the 41st episode of Let's Talk Inclusion. We will come back soon. Till then, take care and goodbye. And yes, if you have any question you would like to ask to Ms. Pallavi, you can post the question in the comment section. I will surely forward the questions to Ms. Pallavi, and we will keep in touch with you. Okay. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much.
everyone. And all those celebrating Eid, Eid Mubarak in advance, and have a lovely weekend and a restful break.
Yeah, Eid Mubarak to everyone. Thank you. And Eid Mubarak to you too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. See you soon. Bye
See
bye.
you. Bye.
There is one more comment last time. Let me just take. Yeah, good discussion. Thank you, Manobina and Pallavi. Thank you very much, Vijaya ma'am.
Thank you.
There are a few actually. Uh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody. Thanks a lot, Pallavi. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.